and welcome to another video tutorial. My name is Britta Swiderski and this week we'll be talking about paper piecing with distress paint. Excuse my voice, I've been a little bit under the weather with kind of a flu cold type thing for the past few days, so my apologies if I sound a little bit or a lot nasally. This week I wanted to do something kind of fun with some distress paint that allows us to paper piece. And I'm going to actually just use this image as a guideline for painting and then stamp it on top. I'm using the birthday blueprint set from Holtz, and this is probably the set that I've been most excited about from Holtz ever because it's so happy and bright, and I just love the concept of these sketch stamp. So I'm going to keep this out just as kind of a reminder of where I'll be painting. You could even use this on your grid mat or use a ruler to kind of decide how wide you need to make your painted area. So I'm going to use, I just need to make it by like 3.5 by 3.5. And then I should be able to stamp my image on there with no problem. So I have this piece of paper that's 6 inches by 5 inches. So it should be pretty interesting trying to get this to fit on here, but I'm determined to have both my blues and my greens fit on here. So you'll see how I do this. I'm going to use Salty Ocean and Broken China distress paint for the present part, and then for the bow part, I'm using Mowed Lawn and peeled paint. But I'm going to paint 2 similar swatches of these first. So I'm going to start with my Broken China distress paint and just work some out on my area here, kind of just covering about half the paper. And then I'm going to go back in with my Salty Ocean and just add shadow to that. So just doing a really quick, easy gradient, dabbing some more paint on here, and then I'm just going to blend it with my finger. I'm going to make it nice and simple. So you see we have some fun gradient there, and I just kind of use my fingers to blend it together. I love getting inky, but if you don't like getting messy, you could totally use a paintbrush for this. I know some people are really adverse to that. But, you know, come to the dark side. It's a lot of fun, I swear. But I'm going to use a wet wipe just to kind of get my fingers unmessy. So I'm going to do the same thing with the Mowed Lawn and the peeled paint now. So you can let this air dry or use a heat gun, whatever you prefer. I'm just going to let it air dry while I start work on the card base. So I have my card base, which is just going to be a piece of white cardstock. This is Nina Solar White cardstock, just folded at the top. And then my card front, which is 4 inches by 5.25 inches. So you'll see the 1/8 of an inch mat here. And that's what we're going to do a little bit of stamping on. But it'll be nice and tonal so that it doesn't really detract from our wonderful present. So now I'm just going to use this stamp set from Lawn Fawn, the Sharp Backdrops set, and this Soft Pool Shadow ink from Hero Arts, and stamp this background across my card front. Now that we have our background stamped, I can go ahead and stamp my present for the first time. I'm going to actually use some black StazOn because that's the ink I'm going to use to stamp on top of my paint, and I just want my blacks to be consistent. So I'll ink this up and then stamp it right towards the middle, towards the top of my card front. So we have our little present stamped there, and now we can go to our little paint swatches here and stamp on these. I'm just going to pick up some of this extra paint with a Kleenex here. You can use a paper towel too, but this is what I grabbed first. I'm probably not going to be stamping in these areas anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to hit it with a heat tool too to just make sure that it's super dry before I stamp on top of it. And I actually cut these apart too, just so that, you know, I don't get extra stamped image anywhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp the bow part onto the green and then make sure the box part is centered onto the blue. The image is going to run off the edges a little bit, but that's okay because, you know, the bow part is only this wide of the image and the box part is only this wide of the image. So it should be okay. And using StazOn allows us to firmly stamp on top of the semi-glossy surface of the paint. If you used a regular ink, it might not absorb and dry on top of the paint as well. As you can see here, I've stamped these on, and I actually went over the lines with a Sharpie pen just to make them a little bit darker. I should really re-ink my StazOn pad, but if I had re-inked it, I probably wouldn't have had this problem. But the StazOn did really work on this. You know, it's already dry, and I don't have to worry about it smearing at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these out, just following the present lines on this one, and then I will adhere the bow over the top. So I don't need to cut out the bow on this one, just need to be able to hide this piece under that bowed one. So here's the secret to the perfect paper piecing. Use a brush tip marker like this Memento Tuxedo black one, which is my favorite, to go around the stamped edges and cut edges of your pieces. This will make it look like you cut everything perfectly and will keep any of the white from showing. And also make sure to go from the back because you'll see here the marker slips pretty easily, and this keeps it from getting it on the front of your project. So I'm just going to go around the bow as well and do this, and it'll make it look like you cut it perfectly every time. Now I've added some foam adhesive to the back of my pieces here, and I'm just going to go ahead and place them down. I've put one layer on the present, on the box part, and then one layer on this part and 2 layers on the top part here. So this will go just right on top of this one. So you can see it's level, it's not going to slope down at all, as it would if you only put one level of adhesive. And because we stamped the image on the bottom, we still have these wonderful little sketch lines, but they're not super apparent. You can just see them and they add some flair without overtaking the present image, which I really enjoy. Plus, you can really see the gradient in the green and a little bit in the blue here. And I really enjoy that look. It's really dimensional and I really like it. You could also try this look with Copics, but I really like the vibrant and solidness of the paints. So it's a really fun technique for that. So now we can just start putting our finished card together. I'm going to round the corners of this just with the 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to use this stamp set from Lawn Fawn for the sentiment. It's called Check This Out. And it says, "Wishing happy birthday to you." And I think it's just in the right font for this project. I'm going to ink it up with StazOn again because I want the same black throughout the card. And then I will cut some little banner ends in my sentiment strip to kind of match the banner or the ribbon end. And then I just adhered everything down with some foam adhesive, so it's a really stacked up card, but you know what, that's kind of fun, and especially if you're giving it to somebody in person, that's totally not going to matter. If you wanted to jazz this up, you could totally add some stickles or something on top of the bow, but since I wanted this to be kind of a masculine, gender neutral card, that I could really give to a guy, since I have a lot of guy friends, I think this is where I will stop to make it and keep it nice and simple despite all of our painting. So thank you so much for watching this week's video tutorial. I hope you'll give this technique a try with mixed mediums you have laying around your craft area. Or pick up some distress paints and give it a try with that, because it works really well, and I really love the color that you get from these paints. It's really fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you again next time on another video tutorial.